Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about recession and depression proofing your life. Things are not looking stellar around the world, around our country, with our economy, with the world economy. President Biden just made some weird statement last week about preparing for a second pandemic. What? And I've listened to several interviews from economists all over the country predicting a hyperinflation event. And although it has not been confirmed yet because we have to get through the end of this quarter, folks, we are already in the midst of a recession. It'll be official when we end this quarter with negative growth. But the bottom line is, now is the time, if you haven't already, to begin to recession and depression proof your life. So I'm going to talk with you about a few ways that you can simplify and get organized to set yourself up for the least amount of discomfort and struggle, at least in as much as we can control ourselves. The very first thing by far is getting a hold of your budget. We are big time budget people in our house. We use Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app. Every single dollar that comes into our household, into our bank account, is assigned a job, whether it's paying bills, putting aside for expenses to come, or going into savings. Every single dollar has a job. My husband reconciles our budget every 24 to 48 hours, and that has been a tremendous way for us to reach financial freedom. Now is the time to get your budget on paper or in an app or on a software program and figure out what your bare bones budget is. Your bare bones budget is going to be whatever you're paying for rent or mortgage, the cost for your utilities to keep your lights on and your water flowing, the gas you need to put in your car, or maybe your Subway card or a MARTA card, however you get to and from your job, and your grocery bill. Those numbers are non-negotiable. So figure out what your total is for those items and know that no matter what, you've got to find a way to bring in that amount of money every month. This is also a fantastic time to create as many little side hustles as you possibly can. When my husband went back to school many years ago, we had 2 young children, and he was working 30 to 40 hours a week in addition to taking 5 or 6 classes a semester, and I did everything that I could to bring in some extra money. I remember I was cleaning a few houses for some friends and former teachers. It was only taking me 6 or 8 hours a week, and I was bringing in over $1,000 a month. That was huge. There was definitely no job in the mainstream market, retail, food, anything like that, that could have brought in that kind of money for my time. Your time is money. If you can think of a few little ways to bring in $100, $200, $300 more a month, that's going to be huge as things tighten up. Layoffs are coming. The real estate market is on a decline. Interest rates are rising. Home inspection companies, real estate agents, closing attorneys. Hard times are coming. It's time to get prepared. The second thing is obvious. I've been preaching it for almost a year now, and that is food storage. Friends, you have to remember that even if your area never sees shortages, everything in your house you purchased for significantly cheaper than what you could buy right now in the store. So it's not even so much about the potential shortages that are being predicted and that we may or may not see in our particular areas, but beating inflation, purchasing things for a better price than you may get it in 6 months. Most of the nation is already experiencing rolling blackouts. Our entire county of rural South Carolina had a 4-hour blackout just a few weeks ago. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but it wasn't until a few days later that I found out it was the entire county. That's no coincidence. So make sure you have a list of your top breakfast, lunch, and dinner items that you can still prepare for your family if you don't have power. I was just watching another video from someone out in the Midwest that are losing power for 13 hours at a time. I want to make sure that I'm staying on top of laundry, that our Berkey water filter stays filled at all times, and that I have easy access to food that is ready to eat, even if we don't have means to use our oven or stove. With so many things in life, attitude and your mentality is everything. Whether you have a terminal illness, you've experienced a job loss, a loss of a parent or a child, your mindset will absolutely determine how you fare long term. My family is preparing for what we would consider a worst case scenario. If my husband or myself were to lose our jobs, I own a small business and we will absolutely be affected by the recession. But we are going to choose to look at this as a challenge. What can we begin to do now to set us up for success, no matter how hard things get? What food can we grow on our homestead? What animals can we add? I was just texting a friend earlier today who's raising this beautiful dual-purpose bird. They lay eggs and they're also fantastic for meat. She lives about 30 minutes away and I see her a couple of times a month. I asked her if she'd be willing to trade me 2 dozen of our regular eggs for a dozen of her fertilized dual-purpose eggs. We could then hatch those in our incubator and raise them in 8 to 10 weeks for meat in our freezer. We have oil lamps, board games, and extremely frugal meal options in our pantry. 2 more things that are vitally important in the midst of stress and hard times, and that is having a strong community and figuring out what brings you joy and peace, even in the midst of hard times. For me, the things that bring me peace and joy, no matter what, are my faith, my people, and a few things in my everyday life that I have control over. In times like these, there aren't a whole lot of things that we have much control over, and that can be scary, frustrating, infuriating. But think about the things in your life that bring you peace because you do have some control. I think about my house, meal planning, knowing what I'm going to feed my children and my husband day in and day out brings me a lot of peace, particularly if I actually think about it ahead of time. I'm a very visual person. If my house is extremely cluttered, dirty, there is absolutely an absence of peace. So something that I could control even in the midst of really hard times is the atmosphere in my home. Joy is a choice, just like love is a choice. So even when I'm stressed, even if I don't know how a bill might get paid, I can still choose joy. My children can see joy on my face. I can be a joyful presence to my husband. And I can always stay on top of things like laundry, keeping my kitchen sink shiny, and keeping the rooms that are most important to me neat and tidy. Those things bring me peace in my everyday life. I'd love to know what yours are. What are the things that cause you to take a deep sigh of relief when you walk in your home or your office? What are the things that put a smile on your face even after you've had a hard day? No one can take that away from you. And on the flip side of those things, what are things in your life that bring you down? What are things that can ruin an otherwise perfectly good day? Is it turning on the news? Is it getting on social media? Is it picking up a phone call from someone who always drains you? Those are the things that you need to take a hold of and remove from your life. Not that you necessarily have to remove family members from your life, but you get to choose what goes into your mind, your heart, your soul. And now is the time to start being a little bit pickier. Don't let things in your everyday life steal your joy. Now might be the time to step away from social media, to delete news apps from your phone. I could go on. I have quite a few other points I was going to make. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a part 2 to this video, but I feel like this little ramble was long enough for one. Friends, we're going to get through this together. I think that's the only way we'll get through it, but it's also by practicing wisdom. The signs are before us. We've had plenty of warning. The warnings are still being sounded today. Get your household in order. Continue to build your food storage. Tighten up your budget. Trim the fat. Set as much money aside as you possibly can. Figure out ways to make some extra money on a regular basis, and love the people around you well, because community is everything. Thanks for watching.